This sex icon publicly dated married men, walked off her own TV show, and rejected Dynasty. At 93, Angie Dickinson is finally speaking out about what actually transpired with Frank Sinatra, the heartbreaking reality of her daughter's passing, and the 7 minutes she spent with JFK that she referred to as the most thrilling of her life. After 60 years of speculation, the bad girl in Hollywood is now coming clean. In Cole, North Dakota, on September 30, 1931, Angie Dickinson was born Angeline Brown. Her family had German ancestry, and she was the second of 3 girls. In addition to being the projectionist of the town's sole movie theater, her father, Leo Henry Brown, was the owner of 2 newspapers. Angie found solace at that theater, telling her movie stories throughout her early years. Her passion for films only deepened when it was destroyed by fire. She was 10 years old in 1942 when her family relocated to Burbank, California. New chances came with living close to Hollywood, but she continued to concentrate on her education. At the age of 15, she completed her education at Bellarmine Jefferson High School in 1947. A year before graduating, she demonstrated her early writing ability by winning the 6th annual Bill of Rights essay contest. As evidenced by her younger sister Janet's victory in the same competition 2 years later, ambition was a family trait. Angie decided she wanted to work in business after high school. While attending Immaculate Heart College and Glendale Community College, she held a position as a secretary at Lockheed Air Terminal. In 1954, she graduated with a business degree. She intended to pursue a career in writing like her father. Hollywood felt like a different universe, even though it was close. She entered a local Miss America preliminary pageant at the last minute and finished second, which altered that in 1953. This surprising success prompted NBC to host another contest. She was among the 5 winners. Soon after, they made appearances on TV variety shows such as The Jimmy Durante Show. She initially considered these chances to be a brief diversion, but casting directors noticed something in her and began making offers to perform. Beginning with modest roles, Angie Dickinson's career in Hollywood gradually grew. Her first significant breakthrough occurred on New Year's Eve in 1954. During her appearance on Death Valley Days, the door to a consistent flow of television work was opened by that one role. Her roles in matinee theater, The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, Broken Arrow, and Perry Mason made her a recognized figure in westerns and anthology programs. She met Frank Sinatra on the Colgate Comedy Hour, which was one of her most significant early jobs. That relationship would transform her personal and professional lives. She portrayed Rose Daggett in the Gunsmoke episode Sins of the Father at the same time. Despite being given credit as Angie Dixon, her performance had a significant effect. Her appearances in The Fugitive, Cheyenne, Wagon Train, and The Virginian by the late 1950s demonstrated her versatility. When she first met Sinatra on The Jimmy Durante Show in the middle of the 1950s, they became friends. She was a budding actress at the time, and he was already well known. She appreciated his confidence, and he was immediately captivated by her charm. In 1960, she played his wife in Ocean's 11, which strengthened their relationship. Although they didn't spend much time together on television, their bond blossomed off camera. Only a few women in Sinatra's entourage were given the distinction of being referred to as one of the Rat Pack gals. Although their connection remained largely platonic, Dickinson eventually declared Sinatra to be the love of her life. In addition to supporting her career and giving her advice when she needed it, he introduced her to influential figures in Hollywood. Until Sinatra passed away in 1998, they remained friends. She acknowledged that in retrospect, he had taught her how to deal with celebrity, then maneuver through the sector. When she was cast as Feathers in Rio Bravo by Howard Hawks in 1959, it was her breakthrough performance. She co-starred with Ricky Nelson, Dean Martin, and John Wayne as a determined gambler who falls in love with Wayne's sheriff persona. Feathers wasn't only a romantic interest, unlike other women in westerns at the time. She dared to challenge the males in her immediate vicinity and was intelligent and self-reliant. Hawks thought she could compete with Hollywood icons after being wowed by her screen test. And he was correct. The cast's camaraderie contributed to Rio Bravo's status as a classic. John Wayne and Dickinson became lifelong friends, with Dickinson describing him as charming and a real gentleman. She also liked Dean Martin's laid-back style. One of the most acclaimed westerns ever made, the movie was chosen for preservation by the Library of Congress in 2014. Rio Bravo was a hit, but Dickinson had trouble finding jobs that suited her skills. She continued to work after Howard Hawks sold her contract to Warner Brothers, but her options were constrained. In 1960, she portrayed Sinatra's estranged wife in Ocean's 11. This improved her relationship with the Rat Pack but accomplished little to advance her career. She played the role of Sheila Farr in The Killers in 1964, a quintessential femme fatale who used others to achieve her goals. Despite the film's success, it served to further solidify Hollywood's propensity to stereotype her as the glitzy seductress. Dickinson's irritation with Warner Brothers increased, feeling that her appearance was given more attention than her acting skills. That was not going to define her career. She began looking for parts outside of the conventional Hollywood mold around the middle of the 1960s. Her perseverance was rewarded in the 1970s when she was cast in the lead role of Policewoman, which aired from 1974 until 1978. Angie Dickinson created television history on September 13, 1974, with the debut of Policewoman. She played Sergeant Pepper Anderson, an undercover cop in the LAPD's Criminal Conspiracy Unit, and became the first female lead in a successful American police drama. In every episode, she assumed a different persona, such as a flight attendant or a nurse, continuously trying to apprehend criminals. She demonstrated over the course of 4 seasons and 91 episodes that a woman could lead a series that was tough and action-packed. Audiences adored her. So did the critics. She received 3 nominations for Primetime Emmys and was awarded a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Dramatic Series. There are even reports that President Gerald Ford was a fan. According to others, he once rescheduled a press meeting in order to avoid missing an episode. However, the show's influence went much beyond amusement. It debuted during the 1970s feminist movement, when women were battling for greater employment opportunities. In a traditionally male-dominated industry, Dickinson's character demonstrated that women might be successful in law enforcement. It had a real effect. Women only accounted for 1.4% of American police officers in 1971. By the decade's end, that figure had increased to 5%. After seeing Policewoman, many of these women claimed to have decided to join the force. Young women's inquiries about jobs in law enforcement have increased, according to the LAPD. Fans wrote to NBC, saying they had never thought of law enforcement before but now thought they could handle the task. It was Dickinson's performance that contributed to the role's revolutionary nature. She defied the stereotype that women in Hollywood are either nurturing characters or glitzy sex symbols. She had an independent, bold, and intelligent personality. In order to get near to criminals, she occasionally pretended to be a waiter or dancer as part of covert operations, but she always maintained her composure. Her performance paved the path for later television programs such as Law & Order, SVU, The Bionic Woman, and Cagney and Lacey. But the work was hard. On set, leading an hour-long drama meant long, exhausting days. Dickinson subsequently acknowledged that the effort had left her emotionally and physically exhausted. At first, she had been hesitant to accept the part because she knew it would be very demanding. However, producers persuaded her it was worthwhile. Despite her fatigue, she remained dedicated to the show and professional. Not everyone thought well of Policewoman. Certain aspects were condemned by some feminist groups, such as Pepper Anderson's use of her appearance to blend in during operations. Though some believe the character's initial attraction was diminished by the toned-down approach, this resulted in modifications in subsequent seasons. There were difficulties behind the scenes as well. The show's time slot was constantly changing by the network, making it more difficult for viewers to keep up. After 4 seasons, Policewoman was cancelled in 1978 due to declining ratings. Dickinson was nevertheless proud of her accomplishments in spite of these difficulties. She had contributed to a shift in television representations of women. Policemen in real life had been inspired by her. She had also demonstrated that a female character could lead an action series in prime time. It was something that had never been done. For decades, Hollywood was captivated by the tales of Angie Dickinson's life, which were full of love and heartache. She was more than just a gifted actress, she was a woman who brazenly lived, attracted influential men, and refused to let scandal define her. She married Glendale College football player Gene Dickinson in 1952. Dickinson was quiet and attractive. She was still a budding actress at the time, and their marriage allowed her to escape a challenging family situation. She desired a different life because her father was an alcoholic. Although their relationship was successful for a while, it began to wane as Angie's career took off. Their lives were taking distinct turns by 1959, when she made her breakthrough in the film Rio Bravo. There were rumors of adultery in their marriage. She didn't confirm it, but several people thought she was already seeing Frank Sinatra. Even so, she was always quite kind of Gene, referring to him as a grand guy and acknowledging that divorcing him was one of the most difficult things she had ever done. They maintained their cordial relationship even after their 1960 divorce. Surprisingly, Gene even went camping with Angie and his new companion. Even more glitzy was her world after the divorce. Now a member of Hollywood's elite, she kept running into Frank Sinatra, one man in particular. They began dating in 1953 when she starred in the Colgate Comedy Hour and was introduced by his security. Despite being married at the time, she offered Sinatra her number, and that brief exchange developed into a relationship that lasted for almost 2 decades. They had an indisputable chemistry. It was far more pronounced behind the scenes than it was on screen when she portrayed his wife in Ocean's 11 in 1960. They were on the verge of getting married by 1964, but neither of them did. Because she wasn't sure she could answer yes, Angie subsequently stated that she didn't want him to pop the question. Sinatra was not without his doubts. He had previously been married to actresses, and he had no desire to repeat that experience. Notwithstanding their disagreements, Angie consistently referred to Sinatra as the most captivating individual she had ever encountered. He liked being among people, parties, and late nights. She liked her life to be quieter. Ultimately, that was the reason they were unable to be together. However, they stayed in touch until his passing in 1998. Next followed the John F. Kennedy rumors. For years, people discussed having an affair, but Angie consistently denied it. There were many who thought they met in private in Palm Springs. Others claimed that in order to meet her in secret, he left his own inauguration party in 1961. The most well-known account was written by novelist Christopher Anderson, who stated that Angie once described her time of closeness with JFK as the most thrilling 7 minutes of her life. Although she never acknowledged or refuted that comment, she did acknowledge how gorgeous he was. The fact that she strongly backed JFK's presidential candidacy only served to fuel the rumors. Sinatra was already well known for being close to the Kennedys, and she had extensive contacts in Hollywood. The rumors persisted even though no one could be certain that anything had truly occurred. One of the most popular composers of the era, Burt Bacharach, was her husband in 1965. Although their marriage appeared to be ideal on the surface, it was problematic from the beginning. After less than a year, Burt began to cheat. Up until he learned that Angie was expecting, he even contemplated getting a divorce. In 1967, their daughter Nikki was born weighing a mere 1 pound and 10 ounces. Due to stringent medical regulations, she was kept in an incubator for the first 3 months of her life, unsupervised by her parents. She made it through, but the difficulties persisted. Along with having vision issues, Nikki also had delayed speech. Before the age of 3, she was silent. Her behavior became more difficult to comprehend as she grew older. Her compulsive hoarding included anything from dog poop to shattered glass. Everyday life felt too hard to bear, and loud noises overpowered her. There were no solutions for decades. Then, in 2000, something in Newsweek altered everything. Nikki's parents discovered that she had Asperger's syndrome, a disorder on the autistic spectrum, which accounted for all of her difficulties. She was in her 30s by then. Her intelligence had always been extraordinary. At California Lutheran University, she succeeded academically while studying geology, but her poor vision and sensory sensitivity prevented her from working in the field. Despite her best efforts, life continued to be too much. In her Thousand Oaks apartment, Nikki suffocated to death on January 4, 2007, at the age of 40. Her father received a note from her, exposing the amount of pain she had been holding inside. Her parents were grieved by her demise. Nikki was and has always been Angie Dickinson's soulmate. In order to take care of her daughter, she had forfeited important performing roles during her career. In order to be there for Nikki, she refused to put in extra hours of work, even while she was starring in Policewoman. After receiving the Asperger's diagnosis, she at last realized why her daughter had been so difficult. However, it was too late to realize this. During their final years together, Angie and Nikki took frequent trips and sought solace in serene locales like Tahiti. Angie talked candidly about her pain after Nikki left. She had devoted decades to shielding her daughter from a world that appeared too challenging for her. She was now burdened by everything she was unable to resolve. She continues to refer to Nikki as a lovely gift and maintains their affection as she navigates life in Beverly Hills alone. However, this was not the only heartache that Angie experienced. She was betrayed in her marriage to Burt Bacharach, who was once the epitome of Hollywood glitz. They got married in 1965, but issues arose right away. In his autobiography, Burt acknowledged that he was considering divorce after only 9 months of marriage. Later, Angie found out about his first affair in the tabloids. This was just the start. Burt's infidelity persisted, and Angie found it difficult to come to terms with it. She later said that she found it simpler to act as though it wasn't genuine as long as she didn't witness it. The anguish, however, never truly subsided. The strain was increased by raising Nikki. The one that remained at home was Angie, who was mostly responsible, while Burt concentrated on his work. Their marriage was in ruins by 1976. Officially, the divorce was finalized in 1981. Angie described it as both tragic and amazing in retrospect. Despite her strong love for Burt, she was scarred for life by his unwillingness to commit. Burt later acknowledged that he had misgivings regarding his role as a father as well as their marriage. He knew those closest to him had suffered because of his decisions. But things change with time. In recent years, Angie has spoken positively about him, demonstrating that love never entirely dies, even in the face of grief. The rules of Hollywood were never followed by Angie Dickinson. She established her career by making audacious decisions that both made her famous and caused controversy. She won prizes for some roles. Protests were started by others. She never wavered from who she was. She portrayed one of her most audacious characters in Dress to Kill in 1980. She portrayed Kate Miller, a lonely housewife who yearns for love. Her character is brutally murdered after a brief affair, which starts a suspenseful thriller. On a minimal budget, the movie made $31.9 million at the box office and was a huge success. Critics gave Dickinson's performance high marks. Even the Saturn Award for Best Actress went to her. The response, however, was different outside of cinemas. Feminist organizations objected, accusing the movie of being violent and sexist. They contended that it penalized women for being sexually open. Some also criticized the antagonist, a psychiatrist who had multiple dissociative personas, including a trans woman who was closeted. According to many, this strengthened negative stereotypes that associate violence and gender identity. Dickinson herself had conflicting opinions about several scenes in the movie. She wasn't the real star of one of the most well-known sequences, which was a hot shower session. Because she didn't feel comfortable being completely nude, filmmaker Brian De Palma had model Victoria Johnson serve as a body double. While some thought the choice was deceptive, Dickinson saw it as a necessary boundary. She gave something new, a sitcom, a try the same year. Johnny Carson's production of Angie Dickinson's show was intended to reveal a different side of her. She backed out, however, after just 2 episodes were filmed. She wasn't willing to fake it because comedy didn't feel natural to her. For publicity, many performers hang on to projects, but Dickinson didn't hesitate to leave when something didn't work out. She made sure she wasn't only viewed as a sex symbol for decades. From 1974 until 1978, her portrayal of strong female characters, such as Sgt. Pepper Anderson in Policewoman, made her a household name. Nevertheless, she also portrayed nuanced characters who defied convention, such as the alluring instructor in the 1971 film Pretty Maids All in a Row. She also had little trouble declining important responsibilities. She declined the invitation from Dynasty's producers to play Crystal Carrington, choosing to concentrate on projects she was passionate about rather than aiming for public fame. To spend more time with her daughter, she also took a step back. After the age of 40, Hollywood tends to ignore actors, but Dickinson maintained control over her career. She was aware of when to quit and when to take chances. For years, Angie Dickinson and Johnny Carson's relationship delighted audiences. The focus was always on their flirtatious banter whenever she made an appearance on The Tonight Show. Regarding whether their chemistry was more than simply an on-air act, people conjectured. They did date for a brief period in 1983, Dickinson subsequently revealed. Their brief relationship, however, swiftly evolved into a friendship that lasted for many years. Any talk seemed to flow naturally and electrify Carson. He had the same interactions with Dickinson. Their conversations were full of fun innuendo and teasing, which gave admirers the impression that they were actually dating. Although Dickinson acknowledged that she had always considered him beautiful, she made it apparent that their relationship was based more on friendship and respect than on desire. Carson's personal life was going through a hard patch in 1983. The fact that he had split from Joanna Holland, his third wife, added even more mystery to his brief affair with Dickinson. Carson was known for being both endearing and complex, and he was married 4 times. His time with Dickinson was notable because it conflated a more intimate relationship with professional camaraderie. Dickinson's public persona was shaped by her performances on The Tonight Show, which went beyond the rumors. She gained notoriety as the sex symbol of the intellectual man, a woman who could match Carson's wit while retaining an appearance of carefree elegance. Dickinson has always been forthright about their brief romance, even if the rumors never really went away. After the love flame had subsided, what remained was a strong friendship. Dickinson co-starred with Richard Burton in the 1960 drama The Bramble Bush, which focused on moral quandaries in a tiny community. Their on-screen chemistry was evident. Their encounters piqued interest off-screen as well. Burton was known for being a womanizer, and many people thought he briefly dated Dickinson while they were filming. Later on, Dickinson called him a dangerous man. Someone who has a strong pull. In addition to his acting career, Burton was already becoming known for having a turbulent personal life at the time. His most well-known connection, his fabled affair with Elizabeth Taylor, was yet to come. Prior to that, however, he had a reputation for being close to his co-stars. Dickinson was married to Sybil Williams at the time, which only added intrigue to the rumors about his relationship with Burton. The speculation was further fueled by the Bramble Bush's themes, which examined infidelity and morally challenging decisions. Despite the fact that they never officially acknowledged a romance, their time together became a recurring rumor in Hollywood. Working with Burton was both thrilling and overwhelming, Dickinson subsequently remarked. He had an exuberant attitude that could be both energizing and draining. Regardless of what transpired, their brief relationship is still regarded as one of the most intriguing episodes in Hollywood history. Then there is Dickinson's most strange story, the one about baseball great Mickey Mantle. One of the most bizarre tales about her life is this story, which has been rehashed in celebrity books and gossip columns for years. Several reports claim that Mantle and Dickinson's date ended disastrously. According to the report, at an intimate moment with her, Mantle vomited while extremely drunk. Since then, rumors regarding this purported incident have circulated in Hollywood and have been documented in publications such as Ben Whittekam's Gatecrasher. Dickinson has never addressed the subject, leaving the veracity up for discussion. Mantle, who was notorious for his wild parties and adultery, had a lengthy history of acting recklessly. It's only one of many experiences that shaped his turbulent personal life, assuming the account is accurate. Angie Dickinson has always had a strong voice. She isn't scared to question the consensus, even at 90. Her criticism of the #MeToo movement in recent years was one of her most contentious statements. Some claims, in her opinion, were blown out of proportion, and it had been overblown. That statement alone sparked outrage, she said plainly in an interview. During Dickinson's heyday in the 1950s and 1960s, young actresses were frequently taken advantage of. She referred to the way the studios viewed women as commodities as slave labor. Nevertheless, she never considered herself a victim in spite of the difficulties. She thought women in her time did things differently. She did not agree with the way the #MeToo movement exposed men in public, even if she acknowledged that males did misbehave. She viewed media trials with suspicion and favored private resolutions. Her remarks caused division. She received accolades from some for providing an alternative viewpoint. She was perceived by others as minimizing the hardships of women who voiced their opinions. One thing was evident whether or not people agreed. Angie Dickinson remained as unabashed and fearless as ever. She is now 93 years old and lives in Beverly Hills in peace. She chooses to live alone while maintaining her independence. Simple routines, a primarily vegetarian diet, lots of gardening, and 8 hours of sleep each night are the things she attributes to her longevity. She loves intellect more than health, though. One of the life lessons she has imparted over the years is to always try to catch a sunset. Stop talking when you've had enough and be kind when you want to curse. She has experienced severe personal loss as well. Born in 1966, her daughter Nikki battled Asperger's syndrome and significant visual impairment. Nikki committed suicide in 2007 at the age of 40. Dickinson has written on the pain she experienced after losing her only child. In modest ways, she remembers Nikki by thinking back on their time together. Despite her 2009 acting retirement, she still does interviews from time to time. Looking back on her career and the friendships she formed with icons like Dean Martin and John Wayne brings her delight. She takes satisfaction in striking a balance between skill and beauty, something not many actresses in her era accomplished. She was thankful for the opportunity that shaped her career, even though she compared her time on Policewoman to slave labor. When she was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 7000 Hollywood Boulevard on September 10, 1987, her impact on the film industry was solidified. She had more than 50 film credits by that point, demonstrating the success of her career. such as Dressed to Kill, Ocean's 11, and Rio Bravo. But the person who actually made history was the policewoman. She cleared the path for upcoming actresses as the first female lead in an hour-long TV drama.